Hey guys, we're going to take this episode and we're going to talk about some of the better ways to go out and find our owner finance opportunities, the houses we want to buy and how we can buy those with owner financing. So as we go through this video, if you like it, take a moment and like us. If you got any comments, you can comment below. We'll look forward to reviewing those as fast as we can. So briefly, let me just talk about what owner financing is as an investor who's trying to buy a home from a seller. And of course, there are three ways that we can buy a home from a seller using creative finance. One is if they have no debt on the property, the seller can simply be the bank and we can negotiate a owner finance mortgage with our seller for whatever the terms and conditions that we agree upon between us and our seller. Next is if they have an existing mortgage on the property, we might be able to buy that home subject to the existing debt, meaning we're going to agree to take over those payments and make those on behalf of the seller every month. In those situations, we may need to pay our seller some cash. We may give them a promissory note for some of their equity, or maybe both. And then, of course, the third way to buy a home when there's an existing mortgage on the property is through a wraparound mortgage. And that can help us change the terms and conditions to make sure that we can accommodate the seller and what they want to do. For instance, instead of letting you have, let's say, 25, 26 years left in making payments on their mortgage, maybe they want to cut that down to 5 years, and so they incorporate a balloon vehicle in the wraparound mortgage. So when we're going out looking to buy homes with owner financing of some type, we need to know our marketplace. We need to know certain areas of the marketplace we're in. For instance, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm well versed in all the segments of our marketplace. I know those areas that are low income, low to moderate income, and of course, higher income brackets. I know the demographics of these areas. And by doing that, I get a feel for where I want to target my marketing. Now, what's so fun about owner financing is, and interesting, is that this really works across the entire spectrum of properties, from low-end transactions even to higher-end transactions. I've seen transactions in the $1 million price range before with owner financing, and people go, really? Can you do that? Absolutely. But understanding your marketplace, understanding the demographics of your marketplace. The pricing structure is so important to help you target a particular neighborhood and area to fit what you're looking for. So let's take a minute and talk about potential owner finance opportunities and areas. So what are we looking for? How do you come across and find these a little bit? So there are so many ways of doing this. You can be looking for distressed properties where people may have issues with a home, whatever that might look like, tall grass, bad roof, things of this nature that seem to be obvious for the neighborhood. You might want to reach out and send them a mailer. You may want to look for anomalies in the multiple listing service. And so in today's market, what we're seeing is we're seeing longer listings. We're actually seeing expired listings come up. And in the past, those did not exist, but now they're coming back. Now, we call that normal because that's typical for our marketplace. Years ago, houses were selling in 1, 2, 3 days. Now they're selling in 1, 2, 3, 4 months, which is more normal. And so as they list homes for sale, if they're not getting the price for some reason, the listings expire. So there's opportunity in scrubbing, as we call it, the MLS to find opportunities. I like to actually go out and drive for dollars, and I look for particular issues in neighborhoods along the way that might be opportunities. So there's all sorts of ways to go out and to seek these opportunities. We can look in low to moderate income areas. A lot of people like to do that. You can look in moderate income areas. But as you marry these ideas together, whether it's looking for distressed properties, whether it's the driving for dollars where you might find these, whether you're looking for expired listings or longer term listings, or just reaching out to real estate agents to let them know what you're looking for to see if their borrower might have an interest. Even though a house is listed for sale, it doesn't mean that that seller may not be open to a seller finance option. Their agent may not have told them about those kind of items. And so just reaching out and opening the door can also be a beneficial way of finding these leads. Now, there are so many new online platforms that are being marketed for ways to find leads. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of them. We see a lot of texting. And guys, in some markets that works, in others it doesn't. To certain individuals it works, to others it doesn't. Sometimes you have to try the mechanism to see what works out there. There are other lists that you can buy and do direct mail marketing to. Sometimes these may be calling lists where you might use a VA or a virtual assistant in order to have them reach out to these people to see if they're interested. I get these calls constantly. I get texts wanting to buy houses. I get calls constantly. And of course, oftentimes when you buy these lists and you have someone call on it, what I'm seeing is that these lists may be old, because I get calls on houses that I've sold 3, 4, 5 years ago, and I'm going, how are they still having this property on an old list? So if you're going to do things like that, get updated current lists, and I'm sure there's going to be some anomalies in those along the way. So there's all type of mechanisms that are out there today where people are trying to come up with newfangled ways that might be easier to create more volume for opportunity to buy houses. Sometimes though, tried and true mechanisms just work. First and foremost, guys, don't be ashamed to tell people what you do. People are interested in those kind of things. Let them know that you're interested in buying real estate, repairing it, whatever it might be. Let them know what you're looking for. It's okay to pick up the phone and to start creating relationships with realtors to let them know what you're seeking in certain areas. Let them know what your financial abilities are for closing. All of these things help to add up to helping find more houses. But sometimes you've got to go through and just trial and error to find out what works best for you, for your marketplace, and for the particular time in the marketplace. Sometimes not any one mechanism works per se. So all of these things add up to finding the best ways to find those leads. We talked about several ways to find leads, but there are other things that work as well. And again, just remember, building relationships is all important, maybe with realtors, other investors in the marketplace. Let them know what you're looking for. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. You never know when something pops up. There are multiple lists that are very viable you might be able to look at. There, of course, are the standard notice to default lists. That's where you might have a short time before the foreclosure lists come out and they hit. There may be appointment of substitute trustee lists. There could be probate lists. Maybe you want to build relationships with mortgage brokers out there and things that they might see, or with probate lawyers. There's all sorts of many ways that can happen, and you've got to find what is best for you. And of course, it's really hard to do all of these at one time. As you get more and more proficient, you can add more and more of these to your repertoire that will help expand your ability to find more properties for seller financing. I just want to touch base briefly on networking and building relationships in our industry, guys. It is so important to build quality relationships out there, whether it's with investors, realtors, or other real estate professionals, what it might be. You want them to understand who you are, what you do, and maybe what you're looking for. But at the same time, it's not just letting them know you're out there because everybody's out doing this. What can you do different to be a benefit to them? You know, if you want to build a relationship, talking to realtors is great, but how do they know who you are, what your abilities are, and can you take care of a deal? Maybe you need to continue talking to them to build up that relationship, not just a one-time call. I can tell you I've had people come to me who were some very bright individuals, and they wanted to get involved in this business. They wanted to work in it, but they didn't know how to get started. And they actually came in and says, I will work for you for free for a year. Teach me how to do what you do. And guys, every time that has happened, it has been an amazing, fruitful opportunity for us. Now, not everybody has the ability to do that, but maybe you can offer those services to the right people out there. And if you do that, do not be a leech. You've got to bring your time, your toil, and your talents to the table. What can you do to truly help them other than to sit there and be a sponge to absorb information? You've got to be willing to work and put the effort out to learn. Now, along the way, as you start to do these kind of things, sometimes it helps to have a basic background and knowledge. And so where does that come from? Well, obviously you can do research online about the creative finance industry and you can find opportunities. There are courses you might be able to take that might give you more of a knowledge base of this. In fact, you can check us out at the ownerfinancenetwork.com for several of our online courses that are out there that exist that will help you generate a knowledge base that will give you the benefit to help these other investors in the marketplace, where you can then marry up and partner up to start being more proficient at this business. So don't ever undersell yourself and your abilities, but do try to gain a modicum of knowledge, whether it's talking to title professionals to understand what the title industry is, whether it's talking to mortgage professionals as to what are the rules and requirements and what do they need in order to do a loan. Maybe it's talking to a commercial banker to learn what they look for in providing a loan to a borrower. Maybe it's talking to a real estate attorney to understand when drafting documents and things of this nature, what needs to be included. All these things add up, and it takes time to generate this knowledge. But as you are able to put this together, it will slowly build and roll, and this knowledge comes together to help you be more fruitful in your real estate investment business. So guys, once you've gone through all this, you have found the mechanism that works best for you or mechanisms that work best for you. You're now out there getting opportunities to look at properties, and that lead comes to the table that looks great. What you have to know at that point is, how in the world do I put the deal together? It's just not about finding the deal. Now it's about, how am I going to structure the deal? Is it through a subject to type transaction? And what would that look like and mean to me? Is it a wraparound mortgage? And maybe that's a better way to negotiate the deal with your seller. Is it a direct seller financing agreement? How am I going to structure the interest rate? Is it going to be a zero interest rate transaction? What does that deal look like overall? So you have to have that modicum of knowledge of how to put that deal together, because there are many ways to look at every deal, and that allows you to find what works best for you as well as your seller, and that's when you get the opportunity to buy that property. So if you're interested in these types of transactions, we're going to have several links below for you discussing each particular phase of the business. Everything from negotiating with the seller to structuring your transaction, a step-by-step process, subject to transactions, and wraparound transactions as well. So besides those links that we provided to you today, you can also check out all of our other videos on YouTube, or you can go visit us over at theownerfinancenetwork.com to look at other videos as well as the courses that we may have available for you. So guys, there's so much to learn about the creative finance business, but it all starts with learning how to find the deal. What's the best mechanism for me to go out in the marketplace to find it? And we talked about all those various options. It may be working with other investors, with realtors. It may be driving for dollars looking for distressed properties. It may be direct mailing neighborhoods and things of this nature. It may be doing some various online items such as texting, using virtual assistants, whatever it might be, buying various programs that may work for your particular marketplace. All of these work, and they work differently in different marketplaces at different times. But once you get that lead opportunity, you now have to learn, how am I going to put that deal together and make the offer to the seller? And it's not just about making the offer, it's about learning what works best for me as the investor, but also the seller. And sometimes those don't mix and match, and you have to be able to massage those transactions to make them work more viably for you. That's really the fun part of owner financing, because it gives you the opportunity to be creative and to make things happen. And once it does, knowing how to handle that transaction, where to go to get the transaction closed and papered properly to ensure that both you and your seller are protected, getting the deal done so you're then able to move forward and get that property income producing for you, is what this is all about. So if you like this video, take a moment and like us. If you have some comments, take a moment and comment below, and we'll look forward to responding to those comments for you. Take a minute and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And guys, I'll look forward to seeing you all next time.